Yeah, let's go. Let's get out.
Shown seriously good recognition throughout today's match.
The crazy thing is he sees all the important stuff, and then he even sees the stuff that you wouldn't think about. Like a rook taking a pawn and then dying. Like, he's looking at that. I don't know why he's looking at it, but he is.
She's running out of time, though. She's got to move.
2 seconds on the clock.
Uh-oh.
Yes! Yeah, baby!
There it is. Big win. Big point jump up, too.
Wow, he is amped. And
I told you guys! I told you guys! The fucking wall will come back, did it? I told you, dude!
What a game, what a match. He almost won both games, but we will be right back in a bit because, well, when he calms down, we'll have him on for an interview to hear his thoughts on what was an absolutely epic performance.
Are you kidding me, dude? I'm the god of the warlord. Let's go, baby! Hey, we can do this. We can grind it out. We can grind our way back out, boys. Hey, win! Win! It wasn't even close! Guys, some of these moves were sick. Some of the guys, look at the accuracy. It's 74.9%. It's not even that bad. That's pretty strong. You were here when it happened, chat. Hell yeah. Woo! Okay, baby. Okay. We're done with that. Okay. Oh my god.
So, okay, you guys, we're going to take a look at the games that xQc played today in PogChamps against, against fuslie. Let's look at it from the black point of view. D4, D5 is played, bishop F4, knight to C6. Thank you to Nathan, Nathan for the tier 1. Thank you so much, appreciate it. Thank you to Shotgun BFFL for the prime and Daedalus for the tier 1 as well. Thank you so much, you guys, appreciate it. Right, so bishop F4, knight C6 was played. Now knight F3 is played by fuslie. G6 played here, pawn to E3. Now here xQc played pawn to F6. Maybe not the most ideal move. I think xQc just wanted to play in the center as quickly as possible. Did xQc DM you yet? No, I don't think so, but I'll check. I can check. Nope, no messages. It's all good. So yeah. Anyway, all right. Thank you to Blaze and Blasian for the 500 bits as well. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Again, I think xQc has also been very busy, you guys, so it's all good. Okay, so here fuslie plays bishop d3, xQc goes e5 here, fuslie plays bishop g3. Now, big mistake by fuslie. Probably she should have taken this pawn, but she went bishop g3. So now xQc goes e4, forking the knight and the bishop here on d3 and f3. Knight to e5. They are so nasty to Hikaru. Who's so nasty to me? Who's so nasty to me? I don't know. Who are you talking about? Who's being so nasty? I don't understand. Did I miss something? Yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, e4, knight e5 is played here. So now here xQc plays pawn takes bishop. Knight takes pawn is played by fuslie. Here bishop to f5 is played by xQc. Fuslie castled. xQc goes bishop d6. Fuslie plays knight d2. Now they trade. And now knight g to e7 here. So xQc finishes his development, gets the king out of the center of the board. I was very pleased to see this because also he can bring the other rook into the game as well. Thank you to Cosmic Monkey for the tier 1. Queen c2, xQc castles, knight to f3 is played by fuslie. xQc goes pawn to g5. Fuslie plays pawn to e4. xQc goes pawn to g4 here. Now knight h4 is played by fuslie. xQc plays knight takes d4. Another excellent move here. Removes the defender of the pawn with the knight on f3, having to go to h4. Queen d1. xQc plays f5. Not the best move. Probably he should have played h5. This was the original move that I know xQc considered playing in this position, and then he didn't end up playing it when all was said and done. But it would have been the correct move. Instead, he played f5, and now fuslie makes an unfortunate mistake. She goes knight to f3 here. Better would have been to take this pawn, and then after knight takes, she could have taken and played queen takes pawn, and she would have only been down one knight in this position. Instead, she goes knight f3. xQc takes. She takes back. Now we have a big exchange of pawns. xQc goes knight f3. fuslie goes king h1. And here xQc misses a big opportunity to make a checkmate. He could have gone queen to c8 here with the idea of playing queen to h3, checkmating the white king because the queen would cover all the squares. For example, queen to d3 allows queen h3, which is just a very simple checkmate here. And this would have probably saved us a lot of drama if he had played queen c8. all things being equal, of course, not an easy move to play, and there was a ton of pressure. So, whoops, why did I jump ahead? Sorry, my bad. So instead, xQc trades the queens, goes rook a d8, rook takes d8, rook d8 is played here. Fuslie plays g4, xQc goes rook d4. Rook to d2 would have been a better move, trying to set up a checkmate threat. Let's say white plays rook c1, for example. Rook takes f2, rook takes c7, and now rook h2 would be checkmate here, and the white king is stuck on the h1 square. Instead, she plays king g2, xQc goes knight to d2, rook to d1. Excellent move by Fuslie, putting pressure on the knight and the rook here. Goes knight c6. TTS is off right now, you guys. So g5. I'll turn it back on afterwards, probably. Knight e4. Fuslie goes rook e1. Takes rook e8. Don't need to explain the next couple of moves. Pretty good by xQc. Rook d7. Very fortunate, by the way. xQc did not go king d5 here. This would have allowed rook to d7 check, collecting the rook on d2. Instead, he goes rook d7, rook b3, and now king to d5. Fuslie finds rook b5, an excellent move, winning this knight on g5 here. King c4, rook g5, now knight b4 played by xQc. Rook g4, rook d4, another good move, rook g7, knight e2. And this is where Fuslie missed a golden opportunity to save the game and make a draw. I guess theoretically she made a draw anyway, so it's the same thing. But here what she should have played was rook takes pawn on a7, which attacks the knight on a7, but also the pawn on h7, and then you end up with a right triangle. Or no, sorry, it's too far. This is the right triangle. But ends up where white's attacking the knight and the pawn, and after black moves the knight, white just takes the pawn, and this would be a draw. Instead, she takes on h7. xQc goes a5, rook a7, rook d5. Good move, guarding the pawn. Rook h7, king b3, rook h3. xQc takes, rook h1, a4. Rook and knight against rook is a draw. It's a theoretical draw. It's been known for probably the last 100 years. Rook h4, a3, rook h1, knight c3, rook h3, a2, rook h1. And now here xQc goes knight b1. Another excellent move, cutting off the rook from the queening square so black can make a queen next move. So f3 is played. Now he makes a queen. f4, queen a8, another good move, rook h4. And here xQc goes rook h5, which I think is fine. There are quicker ways to make a checkmate, but it's still good enough. So I'll just keep going. Nothing really special to talk about, just normal moves. Knight h5, now xQc takes. And at this point, xQc gives back the knight on f6. And this is where I'm going to give you guys a tutorial on how to checkmate with the king and queen. So xQc goes queen d6, which is fine. King f5, here. All relatively fine. But one thing that is worth noting is that now that the king goes over, you can move the queen here. And you cut the king off. There are no squares anymore on this f-file. So if white moves the king back here, the way you make a checkmate, you just play here. Now, if the king ever goes to this furthest spot on the board, you can now cut the king off of all of these rows. So white has to go here. Now you go queen f5. Again, if white goes to either of these squares, you cut the king. So white goes here. Now you go here. Again, white goes one of these squares. You go here. So let's say white goes here. Now white's on another edge of the board. This time you can cut the king the other way. So you go queen here. White goes king here. You go king here. White goes here. You go queen over. White goes here. Now, once white's in this box corner, whether it's queen here or even if the queen is here, you make sure that white always has one square. So as long as white has one square to go to, what you do is you bring the king. King comes here, and now you make a checkmate with the king and queen supporting it. And likewise, let's say you have this cutoff, it's the same thing. White goes here, you bring the king here, white goes here, and again you deliver the checkmate with the queen, and it's just checkmate. Instead of using an L, I'm not gonna make an L, you guys. Like, come on, let's not be silly here. Anyway, this would have resulted in checkmate. Unfortunately, xQc went here, king here, king here, king here, and now here xQc again could have made the right setup. Bring the queen here. Cut the king off of the side of the board. When the king comes here, you go queen here, king here. Again, force the king into the corner, only two squares. Then you bring the king and make the checkmate. And likewise, if white goes here, you can just go, you go here, 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 here. Again, two squares in the corner, and now you bring the king, and you make this exact same checkmate, and it's simply game over. Unfortunately, xQc goes here, king here, and now I play king to f5, which is stalemate. White king has no squares. You can't go to any of these 3 squares. You can't go to any of these 2 squares either. And it's just simply a draw. And so xQc missed a golden opportunity in this first game, which meant that the game ended in a draw here. And with that, we move to the second game. They played a best of 2. So I'll pull up the second game between xQc and fuslie. Here we go. Okay, so let's pull up the second game. So this is game 2. First game drawn. Second game is drawn. Then of course they would play a sudden death 3-0 game with the 3 minutes 0 second increment. Winner moving on to the next round. So e4 c6, knight f3 d5. Pretty standard Caro-Kann. xQc plays knight to c3 here. Fuslie goes bishop g4. xQc plays h3. Fuslie goes bishop h5. xQc plays g4, an excellent move here, bishop to g6. And now, unfortunately, in this position, xQc made a mistake. He put the bishop on d3. What he should have done here was taken this pawn on d5, and after pawn takes, he should have gone knight to e5 here. The idea being that white wants to make a check on b5, and after knight to c6, you go bishop b5, pin the knight to the king. Black has to move. Let's say black moves the. Black moves the rook to c8. You can play pawn to h4 here. A very, very creative move to put pressure on this bishop. Also, you can even play d4. I think d4 actually maybe is more precise. And after black pushes the pawn, you get all in aggressive. You push the pawn to h4 here. Idea to play pawn to h5, attacking this bishop here on g6. And black here has to make a concession, push one of these pawns, after which you can take the bishop and move the queen forward and put maximum pressure. And you follow it up by moving the bishop and castling your king right out of the center of the board. So this would be very, very good for white. Instead, xQc plays bishop d3. Pawn to e6 was played by fuslie. xQc goes queen e2, another good move, bishop d6. And now here, xQc takes the pawn on d5, which I think is okay, but I would have liked him to be more precise and more crisp by pushing this pawn here. And now if black moves the knight, you can push the pawn. Same fork idea on the bishop and the knight with your pawn on e5. If black plays knight e7, you can go bishop to b2, line up the bishop on this long diagonal, and castle the king out of the center of the board here. So instead takes, and now bishop takes g6, h6, knight d5 is played by xQc. Fuslie goes knight e7, xQc trades. How do I turn Hikaru play speed to 0.5? Well, I'm going fast. This probably will end up on YouTube, you guys. So you can probably replay it here, or if not here, you can also, or not on YouTube, you can also watch the VOD afterwards. So queen to b5 was played here by xQc, attacking the king, attacking the pawn. Excellent move. Knight to c6, queen takes b7, attacking the knight and attacking the rook. Here, fuslie misses a golden opportunity. She plays knight e5. What she should have done was played like rook c8 here. Idea to castle the king and play in the center of the board. White is really lacking development here. You have 4 pieces on their original squares. And I think that at this point, it's really, really hard for white to play. So what I would say in terms of this is that at this point it's very risky. And if fuslie had played rook c8, she would have been doing really, really well here. Instead, she plays knight e5, which is a mistake because now, of course, xQc can play knight takes knight. Fuslie goes f6. xQc finds queen b5. Another excellent move here, hitting the king, seeing the geometry. When the king moves over, you just take, and now you fork the king and the rook, and you capture with your knight next move. Instead, fuslie goes queen d7 here. Knight takes d7 was played by xQc, winning the queen. King f7, and now here xQc castles. Fuslie goes a6, and xQc goes queen b3. Another excellent move, protecting the pawn and threatening to make all sorts of ideas with rook e1 and rook takes e6. Fuslie would have been better served by capturing this pawn on h3 with the rook here, rather than playing a6. But after a6, xQc does queen b3, guards the pawn, and threatens to bring the rook to e1, which he indubitably plays a couple moves later. After a5, a4, rook d8, knight b6 was played here by xQc. Fuslie goes rook d4, xQc goes c3. Maybe not the best move, but a little bit kind of dangerous, because now after rook d3, you have to worry about ideas with maybe some kind of checkmate. On the flip side, however, with only 2 rooks, there are no checkmates for black. So now rook e1 is played here by xQc. Rook takes h3. Queen takes e6 is played here by xQc, of course. So Fuslie goes king f8. Now here xQc blunders. Or not blunders, but he plays queen e7, which is completely fine. But a simpler way to clean up the game and finish would be to go knight d7 check. King has no squares, can't come up or go over. Black has to go king e8, and now queen takes e7 would be checkmate here for white. So instead, queen takes e7, king g8 is played, queen e8, king h7, queen to e6. I'll recognize everything afterwards, you guys, for the subs and everything, but I'm going through the game first. So queen e6, queen e6 is played here, g5, king to f1, rook h1, king e2, rook h4, f3 is played here by xQc, rook h2, king d1, xQc lesson soon. I don't know, you guys. Rook h3, knight c4 takes, knight a5, rook h3, rook e3. I don't really need to go through the rest of the moves. Basically, you end up in a position like this, and white is just simply doing much better here. The pawn can go up the board. You can just push it to b6, b7, b8, and white is simply winning here. Unfortunately, at this point, Fuslie ran out of time. She simply used too much time and lost the game. So because of that, xQc went on to win this game, and he won the match 1.5-0 here. So yeah, xQc wins this match 1.5 ahead of Fuslie. Very tough match, as I said, you guys. I helped both of them. Obviously, I helped Fuslie with preparations for her first match against E-Rob, and then I think also before her match against Nate Hill as well. So very difficult watching her lose this match to xQc. But again, she had a great run. She got a checkmate against E-Rob. I really think that Fuslie had no expectations whatsoever. So just seeing her have those moments, those great moments, getting that win, being really surprised, I think it's all worth it. So even though this match did not go Fuslie's way, I think she had some great moments, and yeah, it's fantastic. What are we talking about? Are we talking about raids or something? Yeah, I'm not really going to talk about raids or that sorts of things, but I would not go on that show. So b5 is played here. Idea b6, b7, and xQc wins. Moves on to the next round where he's playing against I think Ludwig. So he's playing against Ludwig next round, and it should be it should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to seeing what happens between xQc and Ludwig. I would say objectively, Ludwig is a big favorite. Ludwig is definitely the favorite here. If xQc takes a couple of lessons and really like grinds for a couple of hours, I think he has a shot at potentially winning the match. But again, xQc really needs to make sure that he puts in some time and effort in terms of chess. So all right, so I mean, I don't know what's going to happen. Like I said, if xQc wants a lesson, I will totally help xQc. If he doesn't, that's fine too. I know he's very busy with so many different things going on, but I'm very glad that xQc got a win, because even if he loses after all that's happened, he still has had a memorable moment that I think nobody can take away from him. Even if he suffered that tough loss to Charlie, he went 0-3 in the bracket. He gets this victory, and so this certainly has been great. You could tell how happy he was when he got the win. So big shout out to xQc for the fantastic win. Really great to see, certainly. And we'll see what happens in the semifinals. But again, xQc has always had great instincts. He just really needs to work and put it all together, and we'll see what happens. So he was so happy, I almost cried. Yeah, I mean, I'm such a big fan of xQc. Obviously, I'm very grateful to him for all he's done, both for myself as well as chess. Obviously, he's not the strongest player ever, but that really is not what Twitch is about. Honestly, that's never been what it's about. So I'm just really, really happy for Felix that he got this win. And I mean, to sort of go through all those tough losses in the group stage, and I mean, especially the loss to Charlie and have that stupid clip with like, I don't know how many millions of views. It must have been very difficult. Obviously, you know, it's one thing to suck at a game. I obviously am terrible at Valorant, as Ludwig was very quick to point out. But to sort of have a clip like that kind of is there in a way forever. I mean, I think is really unfortunate, but he wins today and everything is forgotten. Not even forgotten, but it's just kind of the redemption arc is back. And even if he loses to Ludwig, I mean, I don't think it's that big of a deal because he got a win. And he definitely, I think, has had a good experience, and no one can take that away. So very, very happy for Ludwig. Obviously, I mean, I feel bad for fuslie. In many ways, I felt that she should have been in the champions bracket. It was very unfortunate that she lost to, or she drew that game against Nate Hill instead of winning, but she did. So it is what it is. But xQc moves on, and he will be facing off against Ludwig, and then Slicker will be playing Moist Critical Charlie in the other consolation bracket. In the champions bracket, it will be, remember that it was Fed's fault, right? Yeah, it's all Fed's fault. So and then in the champions bracket, it's Voyboy against Box, and then it'll be Hutch against Nim. So those are the other two matchups, and so we'll see what happens. Forsen was salty. I mean, joking aside, Forsen was the better player in the match with Box, but he didn't convert when it mattered. He got the winning position, but he didn't convert. So again, yes, maybe Forsen played better, but he didn't convert in the critical moment. And I mean, very tough loss, but still, it happens.